Hello, welcome back to Football Politics, where we discuss the beautiful game known around the world as well as the things surrounding it. My name is Jimmy, and this is a continuation of the Top 10, where we discuss the top 10 European football clubs as they progress week by week to look at the top 10 power rankings of where they sit progressively after each week. Now, we are catching up on 2 weeks worth of football this time around, as there was a personal hiatus. There's some things I had to take care of that made it impossible for me to upload the last time. We also experienced an international break, but that will not come into play for this top 10. It is just league or cup matches for the clubs. So if we want to take a minute, anybody who did not see the last video, you can check it out right now before I go ahead and talk about the previous top 10. Give you a quick second here. And so as we go ahead, we take a look back, and this is 2 weeks ago now, at the previous top 10. So last time out, we had in first, we had Bayern Munich. In second, we had Sevilla. In third, Liverpool. In fourth, RB Leipzig. In fifth, Juventus. In sixth, Real Madrid. In seventh, we had Rennes. We had Porto, FC Porto in eighth. Zenit St. Petersburg in ninth, and Ajax from the Eredivisie in 10th. So we'll probably expect after 2 weeks of football to see quite a fair movement. Now this is to be judged before the Champions League group stage matches have taken place. So we want to go ahead and wait till all the first round group matches take place before we reevaluate this top 10, which we will do on next Monday when we go ahead and record next time. So as we go ahead, we're going to take a look at it and see where these teams are at, who has moved up, who has moved down, and who has been introduced to the top 10 and who has been knocked out of the top 10. So without further ado, here we go. And in first and staying in first, we have FC Bayern. Now, they had a game to make up the DFB Pokal, the German domestic cup, has gotten underway, and most of those teams played, I believe it was September 14th for the first round. Because Bayern Munich had the Super Cup against Sevilla, they did not play that game, so they had to make that up, in which they beat Duren 3-0 in that game. And then they in the league, they faced Armenia, where they beat them 4-1. So now they are second in the Bundesliga, only behind RB Leipzig, still keeping up the appearances of being a dominant team, not letting that defeat to Hoffenheim set them back as they look to improve and put the past behind them. So doing a very super job of keeping up their offensive prowess, making sure they're taking care of business, and they're in prime position as they continue their move throughout the DFB Pokal into the second round and progressing up the league table back to where they feel they belong. So there's not much to say here other than the fact that while they were in first before because of winning the Super Cup, and even though they did take that loss, it was still a cup competition that they won, a big European Cup competition. And after their form, have to see that as Hoffenheim just doing a great job against Bayern Munich and kind of a wake-up call for them. And they've definitely proven that this in these last two games that they've played. So in second place, where we had Sevilla, we see RB Leipzig go ahead and steal the spotlight here as they move up into second place. We'll talk about why in just a minute, but the reason for RB Leipzig taking this position is because they are leading the Bundesliga right now. Now, obviously, Bayern and RB Leipzig are both in the UEFA Champions League group stage, so that already elevates where they will sit in these standings. Until the group stages get underway, it is difficult to evaluate those teams any further other than they are all at the same stage, being in the group stage. Obviously, as the group stage games progress, we will see who becomes first, second, who gets knocked out into the UEFA Europa League, and who is out of the competition completely. those making it to the round of 16 will definitely have a little bit more of a weight added to them going into further weeks into the top 10 power rankings. So, RB Leipzig leading the Bundesliga. They faced two matches since our last time out, where they beat Schalke 4-0 and 2-0 against Augsburg. Now, I have to say, Schalke are just not having the greatest of seasons. They are continually getting beat and continually getting beat very badly. Unfortunate that they're coming up against some of the best teams in the Bundesliga so early on. But they're just leaking goals, and it's not looking so good for them so far. Hopefully, they'll be able to turn that around and shape their defense to not be as leaky. But yeah, RB Leipzig doing a great job, doing what they can. Back in that first round, they also were progressing to the second round, so they're doing their job. They're in a similar position to Bayern, but because of Bayern's form, their squad depth, and obviously winning the Super Cup, they deserve to be still in first, even though they are second technically in the league. So RB Leipzig, second position for me, no question, no doubt, they deserve it, and they continue to prove themselves. So good on them. In third, we see a downshift, and we see Sevilla. Now Sevilla only moved down one, and that has to do with two factors. Now we're starting to see more league games be played, and even though they sit 10th currently in La Liga, they have 1 to 2 games in hand, depending on how you look at the league La Liga table right now. But they beat Levante 1-0, and they drew Barca away, which is a fantastic result to do so, and this early on, when Barcelona are definitely looking to prove to the doubters from last season, reshape their team under new manager Ronald Koeman, and try and really spur their season along with the help of Messi and co. So everything seems to be doing well there, but for Sevilla, getting that 1-1 draw against Barcelona is a pretty good result. Unfortunately, they did lose 1-0 to Granada, and we'll see that as a common theme to some of these big La Liga teams losing 1-0. But for Sevilla, they were already up in second, losing that one game, but having two other very good results. And with the games in hand, they are only moving down one spot. I think that's fair for right now, comparing everybody else's season so far. Sevilla in third place. As we move along, we have Real Madrid in fourth place. Now, here's another team who has lost a league match so far, but they are still doing very good defensively, surprisingly. So they have beat Valladolid 1-0. They also beat Levante 2-0, but they lost to Cadiz 1-0. So they have also lost one league match, but they sit in third in the league. So they're doing all right so far. You'd have to say, even though they don't always look convincing every game, they are getting results, and it just seems to be something that Real Madrid has done for years and years. Now, while they haven't always found as much success in the league, except for, I should say, last season most recently, they do progress pretty well and get those tough results. They're like, I would compare them to Italian teams right now, where they're getting the result even when they don't play as well. Especially we would see that from Juve back many seasons as well, where they would grind out those 1-0 wins, and you would applaud them for their defense and tactics and just controlling the game. Don't know if Real Madrid are definitely as good as those old Juve teams were in terms of necessarily controlling the games and having as great of defense, but not leaking that many goals is showcasing, and they are in third. So for me, while they're third in the league, they are fourth here in our top 10. We move forward, and we're going to see our first big surprise, I believe, to some. But I believe that they are doing very good so far, and they are moving up a little bit more. They're probably moving up a few positions more than people would think because of other teams and other reasons. So without further ado, it is Rennes. They are in fifth for me. They drew to Rennes 2-2 and drew to Dijon 1-1. So they sit third in the league, but they are undefeated through 7 games. Pretty good so far. While we do see PSG actually now in second, even after their 2 losses, Rennes are undefeated. They are coming up against the competition in front of them, doing very well. While Lille is ahead of them, Lille are not in the UEFA Champions League. PSG and Rennes are, but Rennes I feel have had a more consistent and solid season so far. So they will definitely be up there. They were leading the league at one point. They did very well at the end of last season and are really continuing that. So it'll be interesting to see how they spread their time and their efforts between Ligue 1 and the Champions League. Will they put all of their eggs in one basket, or will they be forced to spread themselves too thin and bottle both? We shall see what happens as the results come in week after week. In sixth place, we have Juventus, and they moved down a spot. This has to do with their previous result, and that is where they were given a 3-0 win against Napoli. Now, the situation was that Napoli did not actually travel to Juve for the match against them because of COVID-19 related issues. So the squad did not play, and they stayed in Naples. And Juventus were given this 3-0 win. Now, it's not understood whether or not Napoli will not fight this and try and recover some of those points to have possibly the match rescheduled. But as of right now, the Serie A have confirmed that Juve have been given those 3 points. We shall see what happens. I feel like this is a bit of a weird situation, and that's a big team for Juve to just be given the 3-0 win against. So for me, I've moved them down because I don't give them as much credit for that win and the 3 points because of the situation. I know you could say that, well, it's not on them to decide whether or not they were given the 3 points. They were, but other teams actually played their games, and I give them a little bit more credit for doing so. Juventus also drew against Crotone 1-1, and they sit fifth in the league. So they, with 4 games played, fifth in the league. Obviously, it seems worse than it actually is with so few games played. Some leagues have played as many as 5 to 7. When you look at the Premier League and Ligue 1, and then you have others like the Russian league where they've played already 11 matches. So with 4 matches played, fifth is not so bad. Again, only with the results they've had so far, I think they're justly deserving of at least sixth. Maybe they deserve a spot higher back where they were, but for me, they're in sixth place. Moving forward, what we have in seventh, another possibly shock surprise to some, and it's Zenit St. Petersburg. So for them, they have played those 11 matches, and they still only have the 1 loss. So the amount of games that they've played definitely adds to their spot ranking this time around, because even though they might not have as difficult of a league to play in, the amount of games, the only 1 loss, and they've only allowed 7 goals in those 11 matches. It's a good resume to have. They are also in the group stages of the UEFA Champions League, so they are on equal par with everybody else. You know, everybody starts at those 0 points, at the 0 games played, but they all have 6 games to prove themselves. So Zenit, they drew 1-1 versus the second in the league, Spartak Moscow, and then they beat PFC Sochi 3-1. So they're first in the league. They're still leading the Russian league, and I think that is deserves a bit of applause for the results that they've put in so far. They were in our top 10. I've decided to move them up, just like I did Ren, to see that consistency that pays off when you continue to put in results. In eighth, we have our first new introductee for the season so far, and even though they made my at the end of season review top 10, I this is the first time I believe in our top 10 for this current season, and that is Atlanta. Now, while they sit in a better position than Juve, they have I've kind of ranked this by their squad form, their rate of play, and where I think they might be. So they've still got some things to prove, which is why they sit where they do right now. But being in the top 10 right now is definitely good, and if they can keep putting in good results, there's no doubt that they'll move up and possibly even ahead of Juve. Right now, those third in the league, they beat Lazio 4-1, a very good result from them, and then they beat Cagliari 5-2. So they are putting in a ton of goals, just like they were performing well with their offense last season. Unfortunately for them, they lost away to Napoli 4-1. And this is the game after their Juve match that Napoli went ahead and played Atlanta and beat them 4-1. So again, I think that if Napoli actually played Juve, we might have seen a tighter, tougher match than just the simple 3-0. We have other things that could have played in that. It definitely would have been another match before the international games. Cristiano Ronaldo would have been available for Juve after the international break. He is no longer right now available for Juve until he finishes his quarantine restrictions that are put in place by the league. So those are things to assess and consider where those teams would be and how that game would have played out. So hopefully that is a good enough explanation to my reasoning for why they move down, Atlanta move up, but not above Juve. So so Atlanta moving into our top 10, great run of form so far, and their offense is something that you should go ahead if you have the ability to watch a game and see how they work. It's something really nice, and we'll talk because there is another team that did not make this list who I think is also showing that offensive brilliance, but just didn't make it this week. So in ninth, we're going to see another new inductee for this current season, and that is Atletico Madrid. They again have only played 4 games. They have 1 or 2 games, just like Sevilla. They sit ninth in the league based on their points and the goal difference, but they drew 0-0 or 0-0 to Huesca, and then they drew again 0-0 to Villarreal, who are currently second in La Liga. So a good result there, just like we saw Sevilla draw 1-1 against Barcelona. We see another good result from another top La Liga team in Atletico Madrid with that 0-0 draw against Villarreal. So two, they didn't leak any goals, but they didn't score any goals. One I would say is a points lost against Huesca personally, but the 0-0 against Villarreal looks a lot better. They got it going though, where they beat Celta Vigo 2-0, and like I said, they sit. They sit 8th in the league. I apologize, with those 1 to 2 games in hand. And now we move into our 10th position. Before I do, I always have to give some honorable mentions, and we'll take a little bit of a look at who did not make the top 10 this week. So we will see that these 3 teams are out, and these 3 teams are on the cusp. So hopefully you'll be able to guess or assume, if you'd like to, comment in the comments who you believe is that 10th position holder this week. For those who are out from last time, it is Porto, Ajax, and Liverpool. Porto, fortunately, while they did draw against Sporting recently, they did lose a match, and based on where their league is, the competition they have to face, and the amount of games that they've played, I have to push them out. This early on, you need to keep leading the league. You have to keep winning your matches when you're in a quote unquote lesser league based on coefficients by UEFA. Just the things that I'm looking at right now, you have to keep up that level, especially as we're going into the UEFA Champions League group stages. Now, if Porto continue good work in the Champions League group stage, perhaps we see them come back. But for now, they have to at least be leading their league, and that's by being done by Benfica, who would be hard pressed to reclaim the title this season. So Porto are out. Ajax are also out. Again, they are not leading the league. That's PSV right now, and kind of the same scenario there. If they do well in the group stages, we can see them have coming back. But again, leading the league for those leagues is important. That's why Zenit sits where they are. But they've also played 11 games. Ajax from the Eredivisie and Porto from the Premier Liga haven't played that many matches, so it's more difficult to give them that elevated level. The last one is Liverpool, and this is for maybe a little bit surprising to many or some, but they sit third in the Premier League. However, they've had a very bad stretch of form. They and some bit of quite a bit of bad luck as well. So they were knocked out of the Carabao Cup to Arsenal after they had just beaten Arsenal in the league. So they are no longer in that cup competition. They lost to Aston Villa, who was a great match to watch. I enjoyed it being an Aston Villa fan. But they lost 7-2 to Aston Villa, and that is a huge blow, losing by that much. I mean, it's one thing when you're losing 1-0 to Granada or 1-0 to Cadiz or even to Hoffenheim like Bayern did, suffering 4 goals. But 7, I know there were some deflections, but Aston Villa really gave them the business. They tore them apart, and they deserved that win, in my opinion. I don't think anybody can look at that match and tell me that Liverpool weren't exposed that game. So there's 2 defeats right there, being knocked out of a competition, and then also getting humiliated in the Premier League. But then you have the draw against Everton. Now, the draw against Everton was a good draw. Now, they did probably deserve to win that match based on their performance in that game. It was definitely a good bounce back. When we saw Bayern and Dortmund bounce back from their defeats, we saw good progress. But unfortunately for Liverpool, they had 2 defeats and then this bounce back that wasn't a win. And even though Everton are in flying form right now, it was a victory that they kind of had to win for me to even consider putting them in the top 10. And then lastly, another thing that is just damaging their hopes right now, where they're going to have to show myself and I believe the footballing world that they can still perform well, is the terrible loss of Virgil van Dijk, who sadly, from what we've been told, is that he has an ACL injury. Now, I have to say, by the way he was moving and walking, it didn't appear that it was an ACL tear. But if it is that serious, and if it is what they say, I really hope that he recovers quickly, and that we don't see any drop in performance when he is fully fit again from this injury, because there are plenty of great athletes who were never able to recover from that. And we basically see their careers come to an end, never reach that peak that it once was. And I think we can look at some classics. We can look at in the world of football, we have Kaká, we have Ronaldo, right? The phenomenal, El Fenomeno. who had very average to what they were putting out before, performances after their injuries. If you want to look at another sport, um, or other sports, you can look at, say, Tiger Woods, who took a while to recover from a back injury and has never really been on top like he has before those problems. And then another, you can say, Derrick Rose in the NBA, having two knee injuries and just never really coming back in the way he was in his opening seasons. So really wish him the best of luck. Never want to see any career possibly ending injury like that. So we wish a speedy recovery to him. But again, another reason why Liverpool just cannot be in the top 10 right now. Those losses, the lack of the win, and losing their star man, Virgil van Dijk, in defense. Teams that are on the cusp. As we move forward, we want to kind of speed this up a little bit. Inter, who undoubtedly could be here. They could be replacing Atalanta or even be in the 10th position, but they lost to Milan recently. Internazionale, they're doing well. They're in a good position right now, but losing that derby is definitely a big hit for them. Right? It's like if Liverpool would have lost to Everton or to Manchester United in those types of situations. They were on the cusp before. They're still on the cusp for me now because I believe they're still a solid team. They have the opportunities. I don't know if they're going to sort out their defense. But their midfield and attacking play is definitely there, and I think they'll be just fine. Other team is PSG, who are currently second due to goal difference in Ligue 1. Even after those two defeats, they are back in it. So they are doing a very good job of proving themselves to be back at the top. So we'll see how they continue and progress from there. And then the last one, who I wanted to compare a bit to Atalanta in terms of their offensive spark that they've been showing, is Spurs from the Premier League. They are doing well so far, don't have the points necessarily to be right at the top right now, but it is early days in the Premier League. But they are also in the quarterfinals of the Carabao Cup, knocking out most notably Chelsea in penalties in the round of 16 to get to the quarterfinals. But they are also on the cusp for me. I think Jose Mourinho is doing a fantastic job so far. Very weird, as some people pointed out, that we're not seeing the great defense that you would see out of his other teams he's coached, but seeing some great offense. So it's very, very nice. It might be because of some of the players he has, the array of talent that they possess. We're seeing some great stuff from that team. I think they may continue. They've just got to sort things out. And I think another good point that was brought up by a pundit is that it's definitely, we're seeing more goals leaked possibly, and some teams not doing as well because they don't have the fans in the stadiums. They're not getting that support that would kind of push them along, that would spur them to play good football, confident football throughout the entire 90 minutes when they're leading, when they take the lead, and push forward, because Spurs gave up 3 goals. And it was like a tale of 15, 20 minutes of the game, right? They give up 15, or they put away 3 goals, and then they give up 3 goals. So they probably should have went away with the win, something they can take away and learn from. All right, so thank you so much for listening to this top 10. We hope to see you next time. Be on the lookout. I know I said last time, but again, there was some issues getting that video made. Look out for Friday for about domestic cup competitions, where we'll discuss. It'll be a bit of a longer video, but I think it'll be an enjoyable one, and some of you may learn something you did not know before about those cup competitions. And we'll see how this Champions League campaign really gets underway now that we're at the group stages. See who can get their campaign off to a strong start with a win, who can put some real fire in their belly by beating some other teams, and who has work to do after the first game results. But again, there'll be 5 more, so we'll take it as it comes. So we'll have some Champions League games to review and some league matches to review. We'll see you all next time. Thank you so much. If you did like it, please leave a like. If you liked it so much that you'd want to subscribe, please do so. I'd appreciate it. And have a good morning, day, evening, afternoon, night, wherever you are. We'll see you next time. Bye bye.